This is presented by HPS Trade, Japanese freight forwarder in Thailand. Hello, it's IINO. Today, I'd like to talk about how to describe the cost of an Air Waybill. Air Waybill can be referred to like this. It might be easier to imagine this as a delivery note, or an invoice for a parcel. The following information is included in an Air Waybill: shipper, exporter, consignee, importer, departure location, arrival location, name of the product, weight of the product, air freight and other transport fees. Now, how do they decide the costs on the Air Waybill? Are there arrangements for this? An Air Waybill is a document which is issued by an airline or a freight forwarder, who arranges consolidation transport for cargo. There are two types of Air Waybill. Master Air Waybill is issued by an airline to a freight forwarder. House Air Waybill is a consolidated Air Waybill, which is issued by a freight forwarder to a shipper. An Air Waybill is created based on the International Air Transport Association guidelines. This outlines how to describe the cost. The description of an Air Waybill includes the costs which are incurred when transporting cargo by air, such as air freight, fuel charge, security charge and other fees. The most important information on the Air Waybill is what and how much is being transported and the value of the cargo. On an Air Waybill, air freight for each kilogram is shown in the rate charge section, as well as the quantity of cargo and cargo weight. Fuel charge, security charge and other fees are all included in the other charge section. Air freight for airline members' transport is calculated based on the global rate. On the other hand, the air freight which a freight forwarder pays to an airline uses the system, which reduces the cost per kilogram if the volume of mixed cargo increases. There is a section to describe rate class along with rate charge. This shows the air freight calculation method. The rate class changes depend on the weight of the cargo. The volume which is subject to the calculation is either the total weight of the cargo, or volume weight of the cargo based on M3. The calculation is applied to the larger figure. Also, there are different class of rates such as M, N, and Q. First, M means minimum. This rate is applicable to small volumes of cargo. If the air freight set by an airline is lower than the lowest fares, the M rate will be applied to the cargo. If the volume is minimal, the minimum rate is applied to the whole cargo, rather than applied to each kilogram. Next, N means normal. The normal rate is applied to cargo that weighs less than 45 kg, which is relatively higher freight. Lastly, Q means quantitative rate. This air freight rate is applicable to cargo weighing over 45 kg. Higher volume receives cheaper rates on air freight, so sometimes it works out cheaper to use the higher volume to calculate, rather than using the original weight. For example, rather than using under 45 kg normal rate on 40 kg cargo, the total cost of air freight becomes cheaper to use the above 45 kg rate. In this case, Q rate is used instead of N rate. Sometimes, if you include the cost of air freight and other fees, it may cause trouble to a shipper. Now, what kind of trouble will they have? Air Waybill is issued between an exporter and an importer, as a proof of cargo arrangements. However, if costs are included on the Air Waybill, the importer who purchased the product will find out the product original price, even it is CIF term. They can calculate it with CIF value, deduct the air freight on the Air Waybill. Some shipper makes the CIF value by adding some profit or buffer on the air freight, and sometimes the shipper will lose advantage in the negotiation if all price is clear to the consignee. To avoid it, there is a case that a shipper does not want to show the air freight on Air Waybill. If a shipper does not wish to include the air freight on an Air Waybill, you can describe it as arranged in the rate charge and total section. When issuing an Air Waybill, in most cases the description as arranged is being used. The cost section is very important information on an Air Waybill, which is issued to an importer and an exporter. This section requires extra care to ensure it is filled in correctly when making an Air Waybill. That's all for today. Thank you.
In this channel, I explain about international logistics knowledge for your better understanding. I hope this video will be a good support for your logistics job. If you have any shipment from Thailand or to Thailand, please feel free to contact me IINO-san anytime. Also, I'm very motivated to keep updating these videos. If you subscribe, press good or comment anything. Well, thank you. See you next time.